This is Dirshu Mishnah Brura as we pick it up from the halachas of Zimun, Siman Kuf Sadi Beis. The Machaber coins the Siman Birchas Zimun B'Shleisha Oiba Asara. The critical understanding of whether the halachas of Zimun are with 3 or with 10. Says the Machaber, Hayimasubim Shleisha. 3 people are sitting to eat chayavim bezimun. There is an obligation for them to be mizamein, to see a zimun. What does that mean? Explains the Machaber. One says, Navarech, we should bless Shachanu Mishalai, to whom we've eaten from him. And those who are around the table who ate with him, they answer, and he repeats it. He says, Baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam hazanis ha'ilam v'chulu, etc. V'hem eim arba, and if they are 4 people, Yachleimer Baruch Hu Shachalnu Mishalai. Aval Yoser Toiv Leimer Nivarech Shaloi Tzias Atzai Min HaKlal. Meaning, if there's 4, then theoretically, then he doesn't have to be one of the ones benching. Because Baruch Hu Shachalnu Mishalai, because there's 3 people responding. However, says the Machaber, it's better not to remove yourself from the group, and therefore say Navarech in all scenarios once you have 3. V'mei Masara, then the rules change. Sharlaskir is a shame. Shaimer Navarech Elokeinu v'chulu. V'eimayim Aimer Baruch Elokeinu v'chulu. Ein Leimer Navarech Le'Elokeinu be'lamin. Not Navarech Le'Elokeinu. Vein Shiu Asara Oimeya Oy Elef Oy Riboy Kach Ein Mavarchim. Once you have 10, say Navarech Elokeinu, regardless how many more than 10. Cholam Meshana Mizan Nosach. Anyone who changes from this nosech kigoin shaimer nevarich ala mazi shachalnu oy shaimer lemi shachal mishlai oy shaimer kavuv tuvay mituvay makav chayinu amer chayim harei zebur. That's an amaretz. If you switch the wording of benching, kishem asara kivin shemaskirin is a shame. When there's 10 people, once you mention the Shem Hashem, Yachal Loimar Nevarich Elokeinu ala Mazay Shachalnu Mishalai, then you're able to say Nevarich Elokeinu on the food that we ate. So let's see the Mishnah Berurahs over here. Mishnah Berurah Sivkot and Aleph Chayavin Lezamein teach it. Chayavin Bezimon teaches the Mishnah Berurah. Tahainu. What does this mean? Shachayovin lehizdamein ulitzarev berchasim lashon rab, and you have to prepare and combine the brachas in the plural. Vainu shechad aimer. One should say nevar shechalnu v'chulu v'asv'chul rabbanan akra. We learn this from a pasuk techsev Gadol Hashem yitinu ramash shemayachtav, that we should ascribe greatness the name of Hashem. The mashma she'echad yomer l'shnayim. For this pasuk, it's mashma, this is the Gemara in Brachos, that one person says to 2 people, Gadlu, Hashem's name should be great. Inami mimay dersev kishem Hashem ekra v'goydel elokeinu. Kol shkenim im yoser ad asar, and certainly if there's more than 3 until 10, kishmoishe yisbar lefaninu. And what do you say? Sivkot and Beis, you say nevarich, let us bless Hashem. In the Zohar it warns that one should say with his mouth before Berchas HaMazayin. He should say 10 lanu kaisu nevarich. Give us a kaisu and we'll bench. Oy ba'u nevarich. Or you should say come let us bench. This is where of course it comes on how Rabbi Sain of benches. It comes to Rabbi Sain of Arech. This is where it comes from Havlam and Ivrach. That we have to warn people. You have to invite them. Before you do it, in order to draw the kedusha. When we said Ashkenaz and the Mishmura speaks out, we just said this is where it comes from to say Rabbi Saim Revel and Benchin. And the other people say Amen. Says Mishmur, we do not answer Amen. And then benching begins. Says Mishmur Sivkatan Dalad Mashmi Zeh. To lo yoymar baruch hu baruch shemai. at the end of the Zimun. Some say you should. And the Mishmur says that is the minhag. We'll see in a moment whether this is our minhag. We'll look at the Dirshu note number 9, which of course many people are listening and saying it's not our minhag, but let's get there. Since there's 3 people aside for him, if you said such, Efshar, maybe you're Yatzeh. But Lamed, you don't say Baruch Leiloi Kenu Sivkat of the Gavi Baruch like Siv Lamed, Siv Baruch Hu Amim Elikenu. Ala Mazain Shachalnu Sivkat and Zayim. The Masha the Bavarich La Bala Bayis Machila, that sounds like you're benching the Bala Bayis. Dealer Achman, if you're saying it Hashem, Lamu Lamaskir Mazin, Beloy Mazin Yish Harbil Baruch Hu. So rather, Lamisha Chalnu Mishlois Sivkat the Chaz, the Masha the Rabbi Meim, Zezeh, Vizezon is that. It's also no good. Again, you're benching the Baal Bayis. You're minimizing the goodness of Hashem. So these are the reasons why we don't say all the Lashonais that were listed. Nevarich ala mazay shachalnu sounds like you're benching the Baal Bayis. Lami shachalnu mishalayis in the plural sounds like you're benching the Baal Bayis and Hashem. Uvetuvai mituvai chayim instead of chayim, but rather you say, as we say, Baruch shechanu mishaloi, Baruch shechanu mishaloi tzvachayinu. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sivkat and Tes Yachol V'su Lekal Amiti, and with this you cannot make a mistake. The Kai al Baal Bayis Hamachilo. With this you're not going to think it's going on the Baal Bayis, and that's the reason. When you have 10 people, you could say such. Before we go to Sif Beis, let's take a moment to look at the Dirshus over here. So Dirshu note number 1 is going on the Zayar that says, Kol Davar Shebekdusha Sarach Hazmana. However, says the Dirshu, only if they're sitting together at the time of the eating is there a Zimun, as we're going to see in the next Siman, the Chazanish, etc., when one does indeed have a Zimun. But if you did not have a Zimun together, then you're not able to have a Zimun. The fact that you're in the same room doesn't necessarily mean that you're all eating together. And furthermore, Shulchan Aruch prior taught us that nowadays we don't do a Seba, Yeshiva on a table, or Maka Achad, that's enough of a tzir of meaning. Bisman Chazal, of course, they had a Seba, they would all recline, and a Seba was the way to show that there was a Kavias amongst them. But says the Dirshu we are quoting, Shulchan Aruch prior and Kuf Samach Zayin, we don't have that, and therefore we have a Kavias even without that. Continues Dirshu, note number 2, and he quotes the Ramban, Sim Kuf Samach Zayin. The verse should say first, Bershus Merayim Merayim Chen Kazav Kolboy. Mederach HaMosar L'chol Mi Shevarach Shita Rishos Ben Agdelim. You always ask for Rishos, Rabbi Sai, Nevarech, Kids Shulchan Aruch, Archas Chaim say the same. Rav Yaakov Emden in his Siddur explains the minhag is that at the beginning, Rabbi Sai Nevarech Ein Zel Askara Ba'azhara. You're warning everyone that guess what, we're about to bench. However, you still should take Rishos. Rabbi Chaveroi, people greater than him. We continue over here in Dirshu note number 4, in which he says, sounds like the chiv of the Zimun is the Rabbanan, the other Ritva, Oilas Tamid. Shartzian says similarly, that is the Das Raiv Paiskin, that Zimun is the Rabbanan. On the other hand, there's a Torah that brings a Raivid that says no. Zimun is, believe it or not, the Araisa. Similarly, the Lavush says such. I mean, we saw Psukim, so it would make sense. And that's all Chazanish is Noita. We continue over here in Dirshu note number 5, that when you have 10 people, Shulchan Aruch says, if you need to stand up when you say Elokeinu, see what we're going to learn in Kof Sadi Tes. And finally, now we quote the Zayar. Kol Davar Shebekdusha Sarach Hazmana. V'chein Nevi B'Svara Avas Chesed, the Chafetz Chaim writes, the Tosefta and Peah, that you should say with your mouth, you're going to give tzedakah. Then you get schar for saying it. And that's the reason why Mavtiach sheyaseh saka v'chesed. All mitzvahs that you're going to do, you gamkin poyel kedusha melmala, just by saying you're going to do it, similar to the Rabbi saying in Varech, if you say you're going to do a mitzvah, that brings the kedusha more palpable. The Aruch HaShulchan brings the lashon of the Zayar, that by all mitzvahs you should do it. Bracha yazmana lemitzvah alachein. Meaning, generally, when you make the bracha, that is azmana. You make your bracha on your tefillin. That's what you're going to put on the tefillin, says the Aruch HaShulchan. But over here, by benching, since the mitzvah is the bracha, that's why there's an extra emphasis that you have to make this hazmana. Find the night you do the same. Call mitzvahs that have a bracha beforehand. That is the way the Anshe Knesset Gedolah instituted. That is the hazmana. And finally, in Dirshu note number 7, Bir Dvarav Shemir Rabbi Sain of Arech, that's Azmana for the Zimun. That is part of the Zimun already. Meaning, when you say Nevar Shachalnu, you would think maybe that itself is the Hazmana. No, that is the Zimun. So you need a Hazmana to that. Now, the minhag not to answer Amen is a little bit more over here. The Dirshu continues. Where does the Dirshu continue? Okay, let's go to Sif Beis. No, there was one Dirshu that we were looking for where the Dirshu spoke about the minhag. The minhag, v'chein haminhag, to say Baruch Hu v'Baruch Shemai. Dirshu note number 9. I don't know where that Dirshu note. Here it is. I apologize. Here it is. Tama Davar, says the Dirshu, says the Darkei Moshe, to the Hafsik ben Zimun leberach zamazlim. The Graz says, the Mizamin says Baruch Hu v'Baruch Shemai. Since it's Tosefes on the Zimun, look at the Pri Megadev, Rakam is Zamin, and not everyone else, because then there's a hefsik, shrei mafsikim ba'amein, meaning you never want to go from the Zimun directly into benching. That's where Baruch Hu v'Baruch Shemai comes from. But those who are answering already say Amein, says the Pri Megadev, therefore you don't have this issue. I think we know that L'maisa our minhag is not really to say such. And we conclude today's shiur with a short Sif Beis. Says the Mechaber, Im ta'am mezamin ba'asara v'a'inin lo yizkiru Elokeinu einon yichon l'achzar aval madayin lo inu achrav yachzav yizamin b'shem. Meaning, this is a very common case. There's 10 people and the Mizamein forgot to say Elokeinu. So if ha'inin lo yizkiru Elokeinu, it's too late. Meaning he said without Elokeinu, everyone responded without Elokeinu, it's too late. But now, if they didn't yet answer, then the Mizamin is able to fix it and say Eloi Kenu. Says the Mishnah Berurah over here, Sif Katan, Yod Eino Yicholon Lachzar. Why? Because you have it your Yaitse, so you can't go back. Meaning, how does the Mizamin respond back? When he says Baruch Elokeinu Shacham V'Shlot V'Chayinu, does he say Elokeinu or no? Because they didn't say Elokeinu, so he can't say Elokeinu. Yishteis ben Achrayim Ein Sharitu L'Kle'am V'Meim Amr B'Shem. If they said B'Shem, then Yachlu Gam Nachzal Amr Baruch Elokeinu Afidim Varich Amr B'Loi Shem. So if he messed up and didn't say Elokeinu, they responded Elokeinu, then the Mizamin is yes allowed to say Elokeinu. But if he did not say Elokeinu and they did not say Elokeinu, whether he is now allowed to say Elokeinu, the Mishnah Berurah doesn't just says Yishteis ben Achrayim. If they didn't answer yet, then he could go back. It's a Zimun. Then you could go back. So 2 more Dirshus over here. Dirshu number 11 points out, let's say the word 10 people and you said Elokeinu. So the slach is mashma. It's considered bracha she'eino tzricha. Pre-megadim mistapek. If you're over in the lava of Loisisa, what's his suffix? Imraka mevarich bracha she'eino tzricha b'shemu malchus Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam, Or anytime someone mentions the shame itself in a bracha as the Isra of Loisisa Buchacha is a Mekel, and he says Baruch Elokeinu Eino Matbeya bracha. It's not its own bracha. It's a Shevach to Hashem. You shouldn't have said it because you didn't have the minion, but says the Buchacha you're not over in the Isra Daraisa of Loisisa. So he says Shulchan is mistabik. If you have to go back and say Baruch Shekva Machsolam Va'ed, like you made a bracha levatala. Or Shemi Yatzav B'Diavad, Al Kapanim Lamaisi Sabar Shchan Mishalai, we leave it as a suffix. And finally, Dirshu number 12, Imanu Chilik Me'asaidim. Let's see some of them answered. It says the Shari Tuva, Shenechlo B'Zeh Apanim Me'iros Anel Yerab. Are you able to even starve to them? Lizminon as Ilu Shekvar Zimnu Kadeshi Zimnu Bashem. A very common case. Let's say there's 15 people, and 4 of them already answered a Zimun. 15, bad example. There were 12 people. 4 of them already answered a Zimun. So remaining 8 are not a minion, but could those 4 be Messiah for these 8 to say Elokeinu? They say in the name of Yisrael Fisher, Shem Oisam Loy Anu, Hey Bachs Me'asara, Ein Name Yechol Nasal Zam B'Shem. They're not let it be Kazima B'Shem, but if there's 10 that already didn't answer, then they're able to be Mizayim B'Shem. And the other people who are there are able to do it as well. We'll pick it up from Siman Kuf Sadi Gimel the next year, B'siyata Dishmaya.